our listeners from the Outlaws Motorcycle Club right now are just like nodding right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is what it's about. It's about friendship.
And like even if you are a tough, menacing biker, I think you have to recognize that deep down, no, it's just fun. It's just fun being like riding around with your buddies.
People, I joined the Pagans because it was fun to ride around in lime scooters with my friends, and I was like, what if we could do meth too? What if we could sell meth?
Yeah, no, my experience with bikers has also generally been like, yeah, it's really fun to just hang out with a bunch of your buddies and like make new friends, and like there's a lot of getting to know you.
Toys for Tots.
What's the podcast that we do?
Podcast is Tired. It's the car podcast and scooter and bike podcast where people understand that cars and all those other things are bad, but are still fun.
Yeah,
can be fun.
It's all about the friends you make along the way. Tired is the car podcast for finding out what it really was the friends you made along the way. I think
so. That's fair.
Going to Le Mans tomorrow.
Yeah, man.
So cool.
That's pretty exciting. Are you do you have all your ducks in a row?
No, of course not. Yeah, no, I haven't lifted a finger to prepare. I mean, I have like a content plan for Alloy, like that stuff is all done. But I don't have a bag packed or anything like that. I'll do it right before I leave. That's the way to do it for me. It's just to throw 5 shirts in a bag, 2 pairs of pants, and then get on the airplane.
I couldn't do it.
So you're leaving tomorrow, which is Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this on Monday morning. Oh, tomorrow night. Okay, well, so Tuesday night, so you'll get there Wednesday morning or Wednesday day.
Yep.
Are you driving down from Paris, or are you getting
carpooling
picked up, or are you taking a train?
We're taking I think Cadillac is taking us in Cadillacs. You know,
cool.
the EV
Escalades.
No, I think they're the EV
French Escalades,
the Ionics or whatever, La Escalades.
L'Escalade.
But no, we're flying in, and then we'll do like dinner in Paris and one night in Paris, and then we drive down to Le Mans in the morning, and then
so you'll get down there on Thursday morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've looked a little bit at the itinerary, and I think like I have a bunch of interview stuff to do for Tired Pod. We're gonna get Mark Royce on Tired Pod.
Nice.
We're gonna have to just tell him not to listen to any of the other episodes before or after.
That's how we get all our guests. Just don't you don't need it. Don't worry about it.
It was like don't worry, we're not.
That's true.
I have a bunch of interviews, and then the cool thing I'm told, Jimmy worked on this program a couple years ago. But the cool thing is Tommy Milner and Oliver Gavin do a hosted track tour on e-bikes. Speaking of riding on bikes with your friends.
Ooh. Yeah.
So you get a pedal e-bike, and I've seen the pedal e-bikes, and they have the little, like the little name tags that you put on a rally car.
Yeah.
They have those on there with your name on them. Kind of embarrassing. Also, kind of like if you're going to get into drunken shenanigans, it's like you don't want to be like, it was the one that said Carol on it,
I mean, we'll get into this more, but I feel like one of the signature elements of a trip to Le Mans is drunk guys on bikes.
Yeah.
Like that So I feel like drunk guys on e-bikes
Even
would
more
make that
better.
even more fun.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be. I mean, I don't typically like do a ton of drinking when I go on to races for work, but this is going to be an especially sober trip because I've got so much shit to do.
Yeah.
Which will make it fun.
Yeah.
And
Hell yeah.
I am very excited about the guided track tour. I've been out on the track before, and I've done like the helicopter tour of the track, which is
Yeah.
incredible. But actually, like getting like it's like you could do a track walk, but it would take you a whole day.
Right.
But like with these guys, like they've raced there a ton. I think they both won there, and like it will
Milner
be
and the Corvettes for sure.
Yeah.
Who's the other one? Milner and
Oliver Gavin.
I feel like he's done like lots of LMP2 stuff, right?
Yeah, but I think let's see. I think he's also done Corvette stuff. Yeah, he's a Corvette racing guy. He's
Okay,
a 5-time Le Mans Series champion, 5 times 24-hour of Le Mans class winner,
No kidding.
6 12 hours of Sebrings class winner, and 5 Petit Le Mans class wins. So I guess he's super cool. Jimmy said he's a really good, fun guy to hang out with. So
Aw.
like to actually get a look at the track up close, and like I think will add like so much to the actual experience of being there.
Yeah. Have you done like a lap there before? You said that you've been on track, but have you ever done like a ride along?
No,
lap?
like a fast lap. No.
That'd be so cool.
I've been on the track like when it's cold,
Yeah.
like walking on the track.
Yeah.
Hot
I would
laps
like
of
to do
Le Mans.
that.
That'd be
but-
crazy.
Yeah. And have you? And
Yeah,
you've
no, I
been. You've been. How many times have you been before? This will be your.
3 or 4. This will be my 3rd or 4th time, I think.
Wow.
Because I went twice with Porsche,
Yep.
and now this, I think. Yeah, so 3.
Are you gonna get to see your BFF even if you're not there with Porsche? Are you gonna get to see our favorite guy, Hurley Haywood? He's gonna be around.
I'll look for him. I'll look for him. I have his cell phone number too. I could probably text him.
So cool.
But yeah, I will definitely be keeping an eye out for Hurley.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he certainly won't remember me. It's been like 5 years, but I will go hug him anyway. But yeah, it's gonna be. I'm super excited. I think too. It's like last time I was there, there was not. The hypercar thing wasn't there. Like Toyota was the only car running an LMP1.
Yeah.
And like the fun thing was that like the race that year really was the Porsche the GT3 thing, or GT3 LM or whatever they were calling it back then. But like and Porsche had brought a bunch of
Well, that was
it was
that was before GT3 even. That was when it was
it was called
LMGTE,
GTLM or whatever.
I think.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
But they were kind of a step above GT3 cars. They were like GT3 cars are a bit more production based, and that class. I remember people being bummed when they went to GT3 just because it was a little bit more dumbed down. The cars. I mean the previous the GTE like the GT3 cars, like they have anti-lock brakes and traction control and all that kind of stuff. Whereas the GTE cars were more kind of
More
pure,
racy.
pure race
Yeah.
cars. Yeah.
I remember so Porsche that year they had canceled the 919 program, and they brought all these like historic livery 911s. So they brought like
Oh, I remember
Rothman's
that.
car, the pink pig, like they
Yeah.
it was cool. And then this was like I think 2019, maybe the year before COVID. And,
Well, 19 was the year that I went.
we were there together one time, weren't we?
No, No, when I was there, I was just there.
Okay.
Or at least, I mean,
anyway,
you weren't there. We would have been hanging out, and we weren't.
yeah, that's true. Okay. Didn't we? Who did I ride on the carousel with? I thought that was you one year.
At Le Mans. I've only been the once, man. And
who am I thinking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I didn't go on the carousel.
Yeah, you were up on the Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Porsche guys were like, we basically took the entire 919 program and just applied it to the GT cars. So they had like these, like a NASA level telemetry operation upstairs in the like just running the GT3 cars. And I was, they're very cautious about like predicting anything, but they're like, yeah, I think we got a pretty good shot of it. I think they were very dominant that year. But so it'll be cool to see. I've seen obviously a lot of these cars before in the States racing in IMSA in person, but I've never seen them up close at Le Mans, which will be
well. And there's
incredible.
a bunch that we haven't seen. I mean, you're going to get to see
the
Ferraris, the Peugeots, the Alpines. I'm very curious to hear your impressions about the Aston Martin. Because we're going to have the opportunity, you will have the opportunity, Rory, unique opportunity to kind of within the space of a week, A/B the WEC Aston Martin versus the IMSA Aston Martin, and I'm curious to know if the IMSA one is measurably louder.
Louder,
Cool.
It's supposed to be.
I've been watching lots of. I mean, last night, while everybody else, I guess, was watching riots and stuff. I was just like watching Le Mans footage. Guys were shooting at the track yesterday because cars were out on the track yesterday. And there's some really great, just, pure car and sound footage, like 20 minutes of just solid, cars slicing to the S's and it's it's real. I mean, I was just sitting there fucking grinning ear to ear the entire time, but it's like those Aston Martins. They sound really good, but they do sound a little muted too. So yeah, I'm curious as to how different the IMSA and WEC experiences are. I feel like we should just take a step back and for people who don't know what we're talking about, just explain what Le Mans is and why it's significant, and why it maybe the coolest fucking thing in motorsports, and
sounds like it.
The coolest things ever.
Yeah. So Le Mans has been around 100 plus years. It was like a very early test of car building. Like the practice of car building was like let's see, if we can run a race for a 24-hour period. And like in the old days, like a lot of this stuff, it was like, it's called endurance racing because like the expectation was that you're not going to make it. Like the cars were going to break down. In the early days, it was all like
it's less a race and more just can you make your car endurance. Go continuously for 24 hours and during the parts where it's not going, can you do whatever is required to get it to get it back going within that time period.
It's so in like the early days, it was a lot of European nobles, like racing has kind of always been. There's a lot of drinking involved in the early days. So like there's like very famous, there's a lot of
champagne in the cockpit.
There's a lot of champagne in the car while you're driving, which like as an aside, one story that I've been really interested to do. This would be like a long term research project, but there's a line of in racing, like you could do it on a graph where like there's like a level of drunkenness on one line and then a level of like fastness on the other line, and I think like at some point those intersect. So it's like a lot of the early guys were drunk the entire time, and it went on longer than you'd expect, but at some point they figured out like
you need a little bit of brandy just to kind of keep you. I mean, that's what it was, right? It was just like guys just like with fucking flasks and like drinking brandy out of flasks.
I mean, there are anecdotes
like for
about
fortitude.
The Bentley guys drinking literally bottles of champagne in the race car while they're driving. I think there's an indie story about that too.
I feel like
But the thing is
it's not completely crazy because like they do talk about, even when you talk about stuff like age of racers, like the idea that as you get older you're a little closer to understanding your mortality and how much you could get hurt, and it makes you slower. And so like maybe some of those guys were drinking and they were going really fast because they didn't think about that shit anymore. That's actually not a totally crazy assumption.
I don't want to get into a big drunk driving digression again on the pod, but there is definitely like I said, a historical timeline where it's like a major innovation in racing was trying to be somewhat sober through the entire race.
Maybe I know this goes against all prevailing logic and our conventional wisdom, but I think maybe if we drink less, our lap times might actually go down.
Yeah. Why are the Mormons so fast here?
Yeah, who was the teetotaler that smoked everybody and they're all like, now hang on.
Yeah. Wait a second.
Now hang on a fucking second.
It could be his underwear. It could be
could be a lot of things.
But the other thing is the drinking thing, and I don't know if we talked about this in the pod, but I think there was a car and driver story in the 80s, I want to say. Peter, you might remember this, where
I do.
They did shots and then laps. So like you do a shot, do a lap, do a lap. And then it was like, but there was a bell curve where it's like the first couple shots, they all got faster and then immediately tailed off. It was like, cause like, and that makes sense too. Like you loosen up a little bit, you get like a little bit less nervous and a little bit, loosened up. And then, but immediately you're
breaking a little later.
Your reflexes take immediately dive, and then you go bad.
The really great, I mean, not to completely digress, but there is I think it's a 70s car and driver similar thing where they do the same thing with weed, and it's outrageously funny
cool.
article. I mean, this was like Cheech and Chong era, It was like like the previous historical moment when it kind of pre war on drugs America.
Yeah, I mean now everybody's just hitting the pen and driving. Like it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even register anymore.
No,
I mean not me because I don't party at all. But like everybody else is hitting that pen and driving. God bless.
I also don't party at all.
I can't do it and drive. I know people do, and it's like for me I do it and I go to bed. I was not like a big like I was a straight. I do it and
kid,
I watch Le Mans videos.
Sleepily watching Le Mans, like he's going so fast.
I have to get on a better marijuana program because like I've had like Mike has given me weed that was like the exact
like nuclear grade.
But it's like, but you feel incredible and like you can be productive and be smart and like talk to people and like have a good time. And every like pharmaceutical grade marijuana product that I come across just makes me really lethargic and miserable in a way that like I can see myself being lethargic, and it's frustrating. It's like I'm a third person watching myself be lazy, and you're like, get up, come on, we got it. Like, it's very, very miserable. Yeah. But anyway, so Le Mans, so yeah, it like early days, it was like big Bentleys and Renaults and really just testing like, can you survive for 24 hours? Obviously, like got somewhat more modernized after the war. Like big stuff like companies were building cars specifically for Le Mans Jag, C-Type, D-Type, the big Mercedes SLRs, and like they used to do like oh god, I watched Un Homme et une Femme this weekend. You know that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Claude Lelouch.
Yeah.
Good Rory movie, but incredible car footage in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
The man is he's a Ford factory driver, so he does. Have you seen the movie, Peter?
I don't know if I have.
Oh man, it's a sweet movie. Anyway, he's a Ford factory driver. They run Le Mans, they run Monte Carlo, and there's a major plot point in the movie is he runs Monte Carlo in a Mustang, which is awesome because there's tons of like footage of a Mustang doing Monte Carlo, and he wins.
Is it like rally, like Monte Carlo rally?
Yeah,
stuff?
Monte Carlo
gotcha.
rally. Yeah.
Wow,
It's like 1966, and so he wins the Monte Carlo rally, and this woman he is like seeing. They're both widow and widower. She sends him a note and says like, "Hey, I saw you on TV, and I love you." And he gets in the rally car and drives it to Paris from Monte Carlo to see her. And of course, she's not there when he gets there, and he like has to go. But incredible film, great movie, great car stuff. But anyway, they do a Le Mans start in that movie, which is like was a huge part of it until people started getting run over. So what they would do is like the cars would all be sitting on one side of the pit wall, and the drivers would be standing on the other side of the pit wall, and they would count it down, and everybody would run to their car and jump in and start the car up with a key and go drive. Of course, that resulted in like many people getting run over and like cars hitting each other at the beginning, but also why Porsche has their their key on the left side.
The left. Oh, I didn't know that.
So you can shift gears.
Yeah, makes sense.
Shift into first with your right hand and start the car with your left hand. That's because of Le Mans.
Huh.
But they anyway, so it got professionalized.
And that ended, by the way. There was, who was it? Was it? It was just like one driver who just said, "No, fuck this. I'm not running."
Yeah.
And
it was one of the famous safety guys.
Yeah. Was it? I mean, was it? I don't think it was Jackie Stewart though. I feel like was it like John Surtees or somebody like that. In any case, like I mean, this is like late '60s, and he was just like, "Yeah, this is fucking stupid."
I think Jackie X.
Oh, was it Jackie X?
Let's see.
It might have been actually. Yeah, and just walked very deliberately and nonchalantly and slowly across.
It's also
because the thing is,
so
it's
stupid.
a 24-hour fucking race, you know. So it's just like it's completely ridiculous to like that everybody should be like running and then like trying to get off like at full speed, you know, at the beginning of this, you know, as as if
even half of these cars are going to make it around the
exactly
through the 24-hour race. It is funny though, like today that would be a major advantage because like now the cars run flat out. They're so reliable. Like it would actually be an advantage to start first. But anyway, got somewhat more professionalized. The cars started making it around, and got to the point where like you know, by the, would you say, Peter, like mid 60s, cars were running like 200 miles an hour on this massive track. It's out in the countryside in France. It's about 2 hours from Paris. It's all public roads that are converted to a track. And like now it's more track than public roads. I think like any of the tracks that are famously like they have curbing, like the surface is nice. Like it's not like in the 50s and 60s where it literally was a public road in construction. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like people can drive on it during the week, but it's a nice race surface.
It is still the case though that, I mean, it's like this is and the course has kind of evolved over, you know, 100 plus years, obviously. But it is. I mean, it's like an eight. I want to say it's like 8.3 miles, something like this. Um, it's a long course, and it's I want to say it's still about 2/3 of it are public roads. I mean, there's definitely there's like a big complex, like basically like from the Porsche curves, up through kind of the Ford chicanes, start finish line, and then through the S's, and then Tetra Rouge. That's one kind of big complex that is basically like a permanent racetrack type complex, but that really only makes up about a third of the track of the course, and the rest of it is public roads that they shut down for this. And so this is one of the things that's unique about Le Mans, is that because of this, it's a racetrack that only exists for basically like a week out of the year. And so there's no way that, I mean, obviously, drivers use simulators now. That's a huge part of just training and preparation for any race. But like most tracks, you can book time, you can go there, you can practice, you can, kind of, which, ultimately there's no substitute just for spending time in the actual physical reality, however good the simulators are. But you can't do that with Le Mans, and so it's definitely, it's one of those places that it rewards experience. There are guys who I mean, your first time there, you kind of have to come into it pretty cold. You can do simulator time, but like actually getting time on track, you don't get to do it until you're fucking there. And like, yesterday being like the first day of kind of practice of just getting the cars out on the track.
It got to the point, like I said, that so Mulsanne is like the big famous straight, which was like, I think at one point like one of the longest straights in motorsport, if not the longest. But it's like it's a product of this, it's like back when this started, they were like, oh, we'll just shut down these streets, we'll make this race course. It wasn't really like considered a race course in the sense that like, modern race courses are designed partially with safety in mind, of like, we're not going to have a straight that's 2 miles long where cars can go 220 miles an hour and then have to brake at the end of it. But it's like the Nürburgring is another example too of like just a very old approach to like track design. But anyway, they ended up having to put, I think because of the Porsche 917, which we should do an episode on, they ended up having to put chicanes on the Mulsanne to slow it down a little bit, because they were in the high 200 mile an hour range by like the late 70s. Well, even in cars were like,
yeah, I mean they didn't put those chicanes in until I think the 90s.
Oh wow.
And the thing is, like, even by like the late 60s, those cars were hitting like well above 200. We're hitting like 220, 230. Yeah. Which, when you think about it, I mean, cars got better at going fast much sooner than they got better at slowing down. Like, like
it's way more fun to build an engine.
Making power is quite a bit easier than making like really effective braking systems and packages. But so yeah, I mean, just the fact that like in the mid and late 60s, you had guys like doing 230, 240 miles an hour on the fucking Mulsanne in the middle of the night, on a fucking 2-lane public road going through the woods.
In the dark.
I mean,
That's the other thing too. It's
this
just
is
their headlights.
what's,
There's
like,
no lights on the
fucking
track.
insane with 1967 era brakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Terror.
some of the most insane shit that's ever happened.
Yeah.
1990 is the chicane edition.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. But there is a funny note here. Cue the research music. But there's a funny note here that the highest speed on the straight since 1990 was Nissan's R90 CK driven by Mark Blundell, which reached 226.9 miles an hour during qualifying when the twin turbo, and there's a video of this, twin turbo system's wastegate got stuck shut and the car was making like way more than it's supposed to make 800 horsepower and it was like 1200 horsepower.
Right.
He's like coming down the straight, matted, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on? Like, why is this car so fast?" But yeah, it is like, you know, I guess that's probably enough like history. I think like it is like Indy in a sense that like, you know, through the ups and downs of kind of like sports car racing or endurance racing globally, like we've talked on the pod about like sometimes that's a good business that can draw fans and manufacturers and sometimes it isn't. Mm-hmm. But Le Mans is like Le Mans may be the biggest prize in racing. It may be the like premier, like globally, it may be the thing that like, because there are certainly F1 drivers who do not care about winning at Indy. There are certainly rally drivers who don't care about winning at Monaco, whatever. Everybody, if they get a chance to win at Le Mans, takes it. I think like that is, and if you look at driver lineups historically, Le Mans is a big deal to everyone. And I think like you talk to Max Verstappen, you talk to Fernando Alonso, like everybody wants to have a Le Mans win on their resume. And it is, to Peter's point earlier, the environment of Le Mans, because it's big, because it's not a real racetrack, it's not lit at night, like the experience of sitting out in the woods and seeing headlights in the distance and hearing engines in the distance and seeing cars come by you at 200 miles an hour in the forest is like unreal. It is not a it's an unreal experience. I mean, and it's like you can see too, like today, like the car headlights all have different signatures, like like all the corporate headlight signatures, which is cool because you can see like, oh, that's the Porsche, oh, that's the Ferrari or whatever, and like and you can tell by their sound. It is incredible. It's an incredible experience. And like a lot of the other big like endurance races, it's a great party. There's a ton of people there. And there are people everywhere. It's like, I think too, like that's a hard thing to, if you've only been to like stick and ball stuff where you're seated in a grandstand in your seat the entire time, like Le Mans or Daytona or even like Indy, like you can get up and walk around and go see from different angles and like experience different stuff. Like you could go to Le Mans every year for the rest of your life and never have the same experience twice. It's like, there's just an infinite ways to experience it and to be there. It's like, and there's also something too about a 24-hour race where there's like a bleariness where it's like the 2:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning experience where like everyone's kind of like stoned a little bit,
dreamy.
like it's like it's so cool. I mean I think too, like I will have a credential and I will have pit access, which is like not something that most people get to do, but I think like being in the pits at 2:30 in the morning, at 3:30 in the morning is really fun. Like those guys, like everyone's mad, everyone's tired, and like you start to see shit. Like you start to see the brilliance of like what it takes to compete at that level, and like under those circumstances where it's like I said, everyone's tired and everyone's like, but it's like, you know, the heroic the heroism of the drivers and the mechanics in those early hours is like, so especially when something goes wrong, like the car breaks or whatever, and like bring a car in and start taking it apart. And like I've seen cars completely rebuilt in situ, like, and you just learn so much. There's like, this is like a really small thing, but I remember one of the years I was there, the Corvette had there was some thing in the rules where like they were able to change one brake part or not another brake part, but they figured out that if they added a quick disconnect fitting, which is like like brake lines are under super high pressure, like a couple thousand psi, but there are fittings that they use in agriculture for hydraulics that snap together so that you can unhook them without losing fluid. So that there's a valve in the actual fitting. You can untwist it and you don't lose any fluid. And someone figured that out, and they applied it to the brake system on the Corvettes, so you could remove the entire brake system, rotor, caliper, the whole hub, just drop it off. And it was like a major advantage at Le Mans, because like everyone's losing your brakes over time. There's like a ton of time trying to like refresh your brakes or whatever. And it's like, oh no, we can go out there with an entirely fresh. But it was like that kind of stuff in racing. And then like, of course, the next year everybody's doing that. Now those fittings are everywhere in motorsports. Everybody uses them for everything. But it was like I saw that in real time. I saw that happening. Le Mans they brought that out for Le Mans, and like that is now de rigueur. Like it's part of racing. But like that kind of stuff is like, I don't know. That's what's fun. Like that's a huge part of what's fun about racing for me, is like watching that stuff come together and like watching people figure stuff out. And you get to do so much of that at Le Mans. It's like, it's going to be cool. It's going to be a good time. I wish you guys were coming with me.
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, for my money, and I mean, you know, I haven't done everything obviously, but it's definitely, I mean, it was the thing that when I finally got to go to it in 2019, thanks to you, Rory, it was one of those deals where it's like, all right, this is something that I've like dreamed of doing, like, if not my literal entire life, at least like for as long as I've been aware of this, you know, like since I was probably, 13, 14 years old. And man, it did not disappoint in any single way. I mean, it exceeded my expectations. Like it surpassed them to such a degree that it was just like laughable.
Yeah. I know. And I had very high expectations for it. Like I was expecting the world.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, same. But just the reality of just being there, seeing it. I mean, just unbelievably cool, exciting. All of the I mean, I mean, it is kind of like indie in the sense that there's like so much kind of pageantry that goes along with it, and I mean it's there's the race, but it's also like this kind of week-long festival. And I got there, I think on Thursday morning, drove down, got to the town of Le Mans, which the town itself, like, it's basically like, it's kind of like, I think we have this kind of notion of it as being like this, it's just like this quaint, picturesque, little French village, and it's not. It's like a fucking industrial city, It's like
I mean, there's a little part of it that's that way, but it's a big.
But to American eyes, like the actual downtown of Le Mans, where there's the big kind of plot, like a square, like most old European cities have. It has that, and to American eyes, it does look like
quaint.
Kind of it's got to look, I mean, because just purely by not being like fucking big box hell, it's like, oh, this is recognizable as a European city. So it does have this kind of like baked in kind of quaintness and romance to it, and it does have like a giant ass fucking beautiful Gothic cathedral that they like park the cars in front of. But so like yes, like this past weekend, I think like Friday and Saturday, they kind of kick it off with the scrutineering, the le passage. So they do this in town, which is like, a 10-15 minute train ride, like from the track, if you're there. And the but it's open to the public. It's like this big day long thing, where they bring the cars out, they run them under the tents, but at the same time, like they're interviewing all the drivers and team principals and talk, and it's like this. They stream this shit all on YouTube. You can watch it. It's very like cosmopolitan and multilingual, and the guys are like obviously conducting the interviews in French, but and some of the drivers are responding in French, and there's like the other guy who's the interpreter. But everybody's like super. I mean, it's one of those great things where you get to see like the number of these drivers who are like just crazy multilingual and. And lots of people are speaking English, but there's lots of just kind of native tongues, and it's a cool thing to watch. So like they did that on Friday and Saturday. You also get to see the cars like up really close, and a lot of the cars are running kind of special Le Mans liveries, and so that's fun to see. And then like yesterday, the cars are out on track. And so there's a lot of like, I think today is a day off, but then there's more stuff like during the week. And then like the kind of culminating on Friday with the parade, like another, big, huge thing in town that everybody fucking comes out for. And they did a bit of this yesterday too, where it's like not all of the cars, but they had a bunch of the cars kind of, they ran them through the town, and the footage of that is really fun to see, because it's just lots of all the roads are just lined with people and kids, and yeah, it's just, and you're just like seeing fucking full on race cars driving around, in downtown, like in a downtown French city. It's just like sick as hell. But the parade on Friday is also, I mean, I did get to go to that, and that is awesome, because it's like there's a ton of vintage cars, and the drivers, like the teams of drivers for each car that's racing, they're all riding around in the back of convertibles and signing shit and throwing stuff to kids, and it's just, yeah, it's just like just huge and awesome and really good vibes event.
The thing that I'm speaking of the scrutineering, I'm wondering about. So I have been there. Was I with Corvette? So like the fun thing about this is, one of the fun things about it is around 2 or 3 in the morning, like I said, and then like the following morning, unlike every other environment that you go to, like as media, like in a 24-hour race, people just let their guard down and they will start saying shit. Like you start talking to people, and it's like you can have conversations that like they would never have with a journalist otherwise. And like I think like I was there with Corvette. I don't remember if I was on a Corvette trip or what I was doing, but I was talking to somebody who's not with the program anymore, and they were talking about how the French love having Americans there, but hate having them succeed. So like the Corvettes are
understandable,
massively popular among the Europeans, because they're V8 and they sound insane on the track compared to anything else. Like the Corvettes are one
less so now, unfortunately, with the C8, but with the C7s, but up through the C7 for sure.
Yeah, the C7 you would hear like, it'd be like a bunch of LMP1 cars coming, and you would only hear the C7 that was like getting lapped by them. But they were talking about how the French are always trying to like hinder them at the last minute. And so they told a story about how I'm gonna get the details wrong, but I think it was a Corvette. It was a Corvette, but they brought it. It was totally within spec. And the day of the race, they like changed their air restrictor, which is like it's like a little donut you put on the intake that constricts the amount of air the engine can make and like restricts the horsepower. It's like it's supposed to. They're trying to balance the cars to make them all relatively equal in performance. Between weight, aero, and power, but they changed the restrictor size like at the last minute, and they were like, the Corvette guys were like, well, what are we gonna do? Like how are we? And they're like, we don't know. But like, you can go to this machine shop. This guy we know will make you one or whatever. But it was like, that fucks up the whole program, fucks up the whole tune. Like it messes, and it's like, but they were going through this kind of litany of like. Of little like roadblocks that the ACO, who's the governing body that runs Le Mans, would throw at the Americans to make sure that they weren't going to win. And I think last year when the Cadillacs were at times running first, and like they were leading the race for long periods of time. I think one of them finished third. But it was, I remember talking to Jimmy, who was there on the program, and I was like, what's the attitude? Like, how are people feeling? And he's like, well, they're never going to let us win. It was like, everyone's feeling good, but like, there's no way we'll win this, that they'll never let an American team win. And so this year is the 75th anniversary of Cadillac coming to Le Mans for the first time. Le Mans does love an anniversary. There is, if you look at like big historical moments in Le Mans, big anniversaries, like those teams tend to do very well on their anniversaries. I'm thinking specifically of like the anniversary of the Ford versus Ferrari thing, where they brought up a bunch of Ford GTs and happened to win the GT class. So I'm really interested to see how much anti-GM, anti-American sentiment is balanced with the love of a fun anniversary. So it'll be interesting. And the Cadillacs have not been good in WEC this year, but Le Mans is one of those things where it's like it's unlike the rest of the races, and so like anything can kind of happen. But I also like I think my thoughts overall on America are somewhat complicated. But one thing that I really like about America is V8 engines, small block V8s. I do think that
those Cadillacs. I mean, the Cadillac GTP cars / hypercars. They have effectively supplanted the Corvette in terms of engine note. What disappeared when the new C8 Corvette came online with its flat plane crank, and we lost the sonorous low end thump that made that car sound completely unlike everything else on the track. The Cadillacs have that still.
Yeah.
They're now waving the American V8 flag,
and they sound incredible. And that's a big 6.2 liter V8, and the French do love that. I mean, they love hearing those cars. But I think I root for the Cadillacs because of that. I think like that is a very cool thing to see in a modern sports car race, is like a massive fucking V8, and they sound awesome. I think mechanically they're very cool, very interesting. So I will hope to see them do well this weekend. But those motors too. Like I remember like when that came out, when that program started, the motors are all fairly high strung. Like the competition was like Acura had a 3.5 liter V6, which I think is like roughly based on one of their crossover motors, and then Mazda had a 2-liter 4-cylinder, and they were all making around like 600-800 horsepower, and it was like the 2 turbo motors were like boosted out of their minds, and like were like very high stress motors, and the Cadillacs were like detuned substantially to get to the required number, but they were just like loafing. It was like, it's so under stress. And I remember like reading about the Cadillac motor, and they were like, we don't even change the oil. It was like between Daytona and Detroit, I think it was like 5 or 6 races. They're like, we didn't even change the oil. Like this is such light work for this motor that it's like
it's so insane.
Like
So
it's
cool.
like you talk about like race motors are like you expect to rebuild the motor every race in most cases, like in or at least like crack.
Well,
them
and
open and see
especially
what's going on
when
in there.
like in the IMSA season, which starts with a 24-hour race at Daytona, follow that with a 12-hour race at Sebring. It's like
yeah like
I mean,
it's hard.
that's I mean, basically, I mean, cars like in a 24-hour race, those cars are basically going around 3,000 miles, like sometimes a little bit more. So I mean, they're kind of, I mean, in that case, in that example, like they're kind of exceeding even what you would just normally change the oil in a road car. I mean, they're putting like 6,000 miles on those engines. I mean, well, and then factor in like practice time and qualifying time I mean, they've got to be putting like at least 5,000-6,000 miles on those engines.
It's so funny.
It's like the light came on, it's time to change the it didn't come on until Detroit. We didn't get the reminder
right
on the dash.
The OnStar
guys
Is there lights
would you like
on?
us to schedule an oil change?
I'm getting the oil change light. I gotta come in. Box.
The sticker on the windshield says
Right.
It's good. Yeah. But it'll I also like, I plan to, like I said, spend a ton of time in the pits and get up close with that stuff. But it's also like, I guess I would have said this, whatever it was, almost 10 years ago now, when these motors came out, when these cars came out, it's like, oh, when is the last time you'll see a V8 in sports car racing? And it's like, I don't know. I mean, probably 30 years from now, maybe never. Like maybe there's no last V8. Like,
I mean,
GM,
now they're almost all V8s.
Yeah, right. I know. That's what I mean. It's like 10 years ago, it was like, oh,
in all
everything's
of the
going to these little
classes.
turbocharged. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah.
when this stuff came out, it's like, oh, this, we're experiencing the end of the V8 era in motorsports, and now it's like,
Nope.
yeah, I don't think so. Porsche's running a V8. Like everybody's got a V8 now, and it's like in IRL, outside of racing world, like GM is shrinking their EV investment, putting money into next generation small block V8 motors. Like the regulatory environment in the States, I think, is like, they're just going to keep doing.
Well, obviously,
things.
I mean, that's going backwards, but yeah, it just, it just feels like the kind of racing, I don't know, conventional wisdom or just, I mean, it just seems like kind of the default, I mean,
yeah. But it does like the, at least in IMSA sports car racing, the road car connection does matter. Like that's like,
oh yeah.
So like the fact that GM is still building V8s will result in more in V8s like continuing to be the racing motor. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
Like that's why Mazda used their 4. That's why
Right. Yeah, of
Acura
course.
used their big 3.5. Yeah.
But I mean, it's not even just American, I mean, those,
Yeah.
like you say, the Porsches are the 963s are running V8s. The BMWs, those are V8s too, right?
Yeah.
Toyotas are 6s, I think.
6.
Actually, not even sure. But I mean,
The
most
Toyotas have been
the,
off my radar because they're not an IMSA.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should talk a little bit about just who do we like for this year. I feel like it's kind of it's really pretty up in the air as far as overall winner goes. I mean, Ferrari's obviously.